Hello there, people of the internet. I want to talk to you guys realistically about the only gun that you're ever going to need. Now, before we dive into this, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not telling you not to go out and get stuff. As a matter of fact, I absolutely advocate that you get as much of whatever it is that you want. And the beautiful thing about here in the United States is you have a lot of options and there's a lot of different stuff out there that you can get your hands on that's going to be very, very capable. But just for the sake of this particular video, we're going to talk about realistically what the expectations of a United States citizen are. Realistically, the only gun that you're ever going to need. And realistically, it's going to be something like this right here. Some sort of handgun. Now, most of the time, people are going to be looking at some sort of 9mm. If you're looking at 9mm as a universal do-all everything handgun, I would recommend getting some spicy 9mm ammunition, something that's plus P, maybe something that's a heavier grain weight, maybe something that's like a, I don't know, 147 grain hollow point, or maybe something that's specifically designed with like a bonded bullet, or maybe some sort of extreme penetrator, or something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a 9mm. Like if you are, I don't know, in bear country, or you might have to protect yourself, get yourself in something that is chambered in 45 ACP, or if you need something with a little bit more oomph behind it, get something chambered in 10mm. Bottom line, there's some pretty gosh darn good and capable handguns out there that can be served for the purposes of maybe potentially coming across something that isn't a human that you might have to defend yourself against, where like a 45 ACP or a 10mm or something like that would be a better option than a 9mm. But by a pretty huge margin, most of us aren't going to encounter a problem like that, so 9mm should be able to handle basically what most of us are going to come across. If you're in the category of 9mm not being able to do the job that you might need your handgun to be able to do, then you can always go with something bigger. But realistically, the United States civilian most likely, I will not say certainly, but most likely will not need more capability than what a handgun is able to provide. Now, that is not always going to be the case. There might be some sort of situation where somebody has a rifle and is causing trouble, but we have seen situations where somebody has a rifle and is causing trouble, and just because they have a rifle and are causing trouble, that doesn't make them less susceptible to being put down to a handgun round. Now, if somebody, say, has body armor, which is another argument that I hear a lot in defense of rifles, if somebody has, like, modern body armor, there are very few things in terms of practical shoulder-fired rifles that would be able to punch through that body armor. Like, even if you were to go out with an M1 Grand with black tip 30-06, a lot of your modern body armor is rated to be able to stop that, and there's not a whole lot of people that are every day carrying M1 Grand with black tip 30-06. And if you are, shh, don't tell anyone. But the odds of you coming across somebody with body armor is extraordinarily low. The odds of you coming across somebody who is looking to do trouble with a rifle is extraordinarily low. And even if they are somebody looking to do trouble and they do have a rifle, that doesn't mean that a handgun's not going to be able to put them down. Realistically, if you find yourself in some sort of encounter or some sort of trouble, it's going to be like within yelling distance, and it's going to be within the realms of what most people would be able to use a handgun in, like within 7 yards, I think is the normal. Excuse me, sir, could you calm down? Every now and then just things start to move around in this room, and I think that's because of my haunted Lee Enfield right here. Ever since I brought this thing in, I've made videos on it, just things start to move around. But anyway, we're going to get back into the video it is that we're talking about here. Realistically, at the distances that most people need a firearm for any legitimate practical purpose that a U.S. civilian is most likely to come across, it's going to be well within the realms of the distances that a handgun is going to be able to solve whatever problem it is that you're going after. If you're looking for something that is more than just defense, and maybe you want to go hunting with your handgun, which absolutely is a thing, you can go out and get yourself, say, that 10 millimeter or a 45, and a 45 will absolutely put down a deer. I talk about pistol cartridges for deer hunting, and people just assume that it's a bad idea. Dude, a 45 will literally put down a cow. Like during 45 ball ammunition testing, we saw like the military tested this stuff on cows, and it'll absolutely put down a cow. And we have way better bullet technology nowadays than they did back whenever they tested this stuff like 100+ years ago. 9mm, I wouldn't exactly take 9mm out hunting. It could be pushed into that role, but it's not exactly something that I would take out hunting. Personally, I would definitely want something with a little bit more oomph behind it if I were to go handgun hunting. A lot of times, if I'm out with a handgun and I'm, say, boar hunting or pig hunting or doing whatever it is I'm doing, I'll actually carry a 45 ACP on a side holster, typically under a jacket or something like that. But I'll also carry like 357 Magnum, or if I'm going anywhere that might potentially be more of a threat, I'll end up bringing like a 44 Magnum or something like that. Bottom line, there's some pretty gosh darn powerful pistol cartridges out there. And realistically, what most of us need a firearm to be able to do, that pistol will be able to do it. Especially if you get yourself like a revolver with a single action trigger, you can train yourself to be pretty gosh darn accurate with that thing. Like if you get an adequate amount of training with your handgun, especially a single action handgun, especially something like a revolver, which doesn't have a whole lot of moving parts in it, you can get some amazing accuracy that is on par or better than somebody using, say, a semi-automatic rifle or some sort of more powerful rifle. Like they might have pie plate accuracy if they don't have proper training with that particular rifle, or their sights might be adjusted well enough to be able to hit trash at 50 yards at their local gun range or something like that. Most of your pistol sights are going to be zeroed directly from the factory. And if you don't want to use iron sights, then there are various optics and whatnot, like red dots and maybe even some holographics and things like that, that you can mount to your pistol to make it a far more capable platform. You can even mount lights or lasers or whatever attachments to your pistol that you want to attach to the thing. The options of you being able to do those things are out there. And the big thing with the pistol is you can carry it on your person at all times versus something like a rifle that you have at home. Like, for example, if I were to go out and I were to use this as my CCW, then this is what I'm going to use if something goes down. And odds are, if something's going down, it's not going to happen at home. Like, the likelihood of something happening at your house that isn't influenced by your own mistakes is extraordinarily small in comparison to you just being out and about and just so happen to be across something that happens to happen. This right here being on your person is going to be a lot better than, say, the AR that is in the trunk of your car that's in the parking lot that's 3 minutes in that direction, or the, I don't know, full power semi-auto 8mm Mauser that you have in your closet at home. I get that this right here does have its power restraints. It has its range restraints. You can't really touch out to significant distances with a pistol, at least not without significant training. But the distances that we would need to be able to reach as civilians is simply not that great. And the amount of power that we need to be able to put down range in order to stop a threat for most of us is simply not that great. And if it is, then use a 10mm or use a 45 or go get yourself a 44 Magnum revolver. Bottom line, there's a pistol out there that can solve your problems. And there's really, really accurate handguns out there. So if you are of the impression that you want one gun, I would opt for getting a pistol over a rifle. And that is a hugely controversial statement, and I really don't even like making that statement myself. I would highly recommend having both a pistol and a rifle, but if you can only do one, then the pistol that you have on your person is going to be significantly better than having no gun on person and your rifle in the trunk of your car or something like that. Now, if you want to go and open carry and your state allows that and you're in a position to where you're not going to run any trouble if you do that, then by all means have as much firepower as you want. But by a pretty huge margin, most of us don't really do that. Even in places where it's legal, the court of public opinion is absolutely something that people have to pay attention to. Just because you can doesn't mean that you should. I think that you should, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you should, because a huge amount of people would get jittery and uncomfortable if they see just somebody out open carrying, because it's not something that is all that commonplace. But that's a discussion for another time, another topic. Most of us are going to be concealed carrying a handgun, and even those of us that do open carry, most of us are open carrying a handgun of some kind, and that handgun on your person is significantly better than anything else stored anywhere else. And realistically, that one handgun will be able to get you through pretty much any situation it is that you might come across. So that's kind of my rant on this one. And I know it's controversial, and I know that there are situations where a handgun just would not be enough. But the likelihood of running into those situations is so ungodly small that having a universal do everything but not quite everything, do everything firearm being your handgun, you should be able to do basically everything with that handgun, depending on the job it is that you're wanting to do. Like if your one handgun is a 380 and you want to go buffalo hunting, that's probably not a good idea. But if your one handgun is a 500 Smith & Wesson that you got for buffalo hunting, maybe concealed carrying that is not a very good idea. There's a good happy medium in terms of power and capacity and concealability and capabilities of the handgun, and you got to kind of balance it out. But there's such a Goldilocks area in there with handguns, to the point to where you can have a really accurate, really powerful, really adequate platform in a handgun platform to be able to solve most of your problems. And in the event that you find yourself in a very, very rare situation where your handgun can't do the job, that's where I recommend getting yourself a rifle as well and using that handgun to get to the rifle. But again, that's probably a topic for another time. Realistically, that handgun should be able to get you through pretty much everything. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below is a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off. Have yourself a fantastic day. I will see you on the next episode.
Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.